Hey guys, Crewman here. So a few days ago I released a video on what to do after you bought a used GPU, how to check it out for issues and to make sure it was working properly. In the comments section of that video, someone asked me if I could make a video on how I would go about actually buying the GPU. This guide will apply to both gamers and miners, and hopefully it will help you land the perfect GPU you are looking for within your budget and at a price you can afford that works for you. So this guide assumes that you are okay with buying used GPUs and the risks that come with it, aka most of the time you will not get a warranty. But I have bought over 150 GPUs in my lifetime and I have yet to get a raw deal on a GPU. So the first thing you need to do is figure out your budget and work within that. Depending on your situation, you also have to figure out if you have any wiggle room to see just in case the perfect deal falls in your lap. For example, say your budget was about $250 and you were planning on getting a 2080 or maybe a 3060 Ti, but you found a 3080 for $300, which is clearly better. Do you have that kind of wiggle room or not? Only you have the answer to that question. Once you figure out your budget, I'll use an example of say $175 USD, and maybe I have $25 or so for flexibility for the example I'm using. You need to figure out what GPU you want. I am assuming in this video that you have done the legwork to make sure that your PC is compatible with the GPU you're looking for, aka if your motherboard can work with PCIe Gen 3 or Gen 4, if your PSU can support a modern GPU, and if your CPU can also support a modern GPU. If you have not, I recommend you do your research before proceeding, and I will most likely make a video on this in the future. The next thing you need to do is figure out if you want to buy in person or online. Honestly, if you're a first-time buyer, I recommend going the online route, as you have recourse if you go through PayPal goods and services or buy off a site like eBay in case your GPU doesn't work. Unless you know the person you're buying from or have a way to test GPUs on the spot, which I have seen people with mobile testing rigs, I would not buy from anyone in person, off Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. Now, I know a lot of people who have been successful in this, but if you are choosing to buy a used GPU, you want to make sure you are protected, and that is the route, and that is why I would choose the online route. So now that I have my budget figured out, and I know my PC, that 1050 Ti PC that I showed you earlier, can handle newer GPUs, it's time to figure out where I want to start. So the first thing I will do is shoot for the stars and see if I can snag a 2080 Super for my budget. And the first place I'm going to check is the most obvious, and that's eBay. So the first thing I want to do when I get to eBay is I want to make sure that I only have US only selected, because I don't like to look at worldwide or even Canada, just for ease of use for me. And I'm assuming if you're new at buying used GPUs, you probably want to avoid the foreign markets as well. And I want to make sure that I have everything checked here as new, open box, excellent, refurbished, used, but I don't want for parts not working. You don't want to accidentally buy a broken GPU that looks like it's new or working and think you got a good deal and end up getting screwed on it. Alright, so let's do some scrolling. It looks like a lot of things are out of my budget. We've got this one at 180. Here we actually have an interesting one. A Dell 2080 Super. Let's take a look at this one. It's got a buy it now for $200 and $11 shipping. So that is a tiny bit above my budget. So what I would maybe do is I would see, can I go $12 over my stretch budget? Now this is a very, very good deal. Let's see if there's anything wrong with it. It says it's good. Works 100%, never used for mining. Not that mining matters. But we want to look at the pictures. It is an ugly green PCB GPU, but it doesn't matter. These things work. I actually bought a 1080 similar to this. So I would message the seller and see if he's willing to add an option where you can make an offer and you can try to offer him $200 shipped. If he says no, that's fine. If you think you can stretch your budget $11, even though it's over the $25 stretch, I understand it's more of a stretch. I think I would buy this one. This one looks like a great winner. But let's just scroll down and see what else we see. We see one for $200 plus 33 shipping, and it's got 3 hours left. Can make bids on that one. Okay, here's an interesting one. A Gigabyte WindForce. You can make an offer on this one. It's $146 with the starting bid or best offer. I think I would send this guy an offer of probably like 165, and then I would, or maybe 170, and then just pay the shipping. You never know, maybe he takes it. Let's see what else we see. Just scrolling down. All right, so here's one you need to avoid. You got to make sure you read the listings. This one says cooler or heat sink only. Obviously, the price is too good to be true, but you want to make sure you avoid something like that so you don't accidentally buy it. And then we've got a $170 one with one bid. Okay, here's a $250 one for best offer. You might be able to send this guy an offer of 160 plus shipping. Maybe he'll take it, maybe he won't. Another thing you want to look at too to make sure that you're not off your rocker with the price of what you think you can get, you want to filter by sold items and see what a lot of them have sold for. Like you can see right here, there's a few of them that have sold in the $200 range or best offer. So it definitely does not look like that me wanting to spend $175 plus $175 with wiggle room of $25 as like a stretch. That does not seem like I'm crazy. It definitely seems like you can have a 2080 Super for that price. Okay, so another great site that I would check is Hardware Swap. It's actually not a website per se, it's a Discord channel. I'll put a link to it below. You can see it has a lot of, like when you join, it's got a server guide which shows you rules and everything you need to know about how to buy, how to sell on there. It's got the market rules right here, buying or trading rules. It shows you how to list things, the timestamps required. Hardware Swap is a great place to use. It was originally a subreddit, and I've been using it for probably like 3 or 4 years now. And I have bought and sold. I probably have over 150 transactions on this site, and I've maybe had a bad issue once or twice out of those, and I was able to resolve them all with the sellers. And again, if you have problems with the sellers, you can go to PayPal. There was only one instance where I almost had to go to PayPal, but I was able to resolve it with the seller. So let's go to selling, because you want to see what people are selling. So I'm going to look for a 2080 Super. So you search right here. So we're going to search 2080 Super, and then you want to have graphics card selected. Okay, so there's one right here. It's local cash or PayPal, which means he'll ship it. Let's see. He's got a 2080 Super for sale, and he's asking $225 or best offer shipped. So what I would do is I would message him and say, will you take 175 shipped, and go from there. Worst case scenarios, he says no and he gives you a counter offer. Now I really think that the fact that he wants 225 and the fact that you can go up to 200, I think there's a deal to be had somewhere in there. That should be one that should not be hard to purchase. And then he'll invoice you in PayPal, and then you're good to go. So there you go right there. There's another 2080 Super. Let's look at this one right here. Gigabyte 2080 Super. People have already messaged him on it. He wanted 225 and he sold it. Let's see if there's another one. This one does not look like it's sold. 200 local, 250 shipped. I would send him a message I never really had a problem with Zotac 20 series cards. If you want to avoid it, you can avoid it. But you could just send this guy a message saying, will you take 200 shipped? Worst case scenario, he says no. Let's see what else we've got. We've got another post right here, a 2080 Super and a Radeon 5700 XT. So these are amazing prices, actually. $170 or $90. Maybe maybe this guy will ship it, maybe he won't. A lot of these, if they're older, sometimes they'll go fast. Like you already saw that one sold listing. You'll want to check this one regularly because there's a lot of people that just scour this site looking for deals. And as you can see, there's a lot of different deals for other things. So that would be the second place I would go, and I would be pretty confident in between Hardware Swap and eBay that I would be able to find the GPU that I am looking for. So now that I've showed you where to go to look for graphics cards, how to hunt for them, and how to start contacting sellers, once you contact the sellers, you want to ask a few questions to get an idea of whether or not you feel comfortable buying the GPU. So the first thing you want to ask is, was the GPU stored in a humid environment because humidity is very bad for GPUs. You want to make sure you ask this question, especially if you're buying from a miner who has a large batch of decommissioned GPUs. It doesn't matter how long they've mined for, etc. You just want to ask how long have they been off and have they been stored in a humid environment. And if they say yes or you're not comfortable with the answer, I would walk away from that one. The next one you want to ask is if the person who owns it is the first owner or not. It's always good to get a sense of the GPU's history, whether the GPU has been bought and sold a few times. Now, this does not always matter, but when there's a choice between buying from the original buyer or not, I would pick the original buyer. But this is not assuming that if you find like a deal you can't pass up on, and the GPU's been through a few hands, I would buy it. Like I said, you have PayPal and eBay or whatever site you buy from to protect you. The next question I would ask is, has the GPU been repaired or is it an RMA replacement? Nothing wrong with either of them. I would feel more comfortable with an RMA replacement over repair, but if it's a repair and it works, I would probably try to hit them up and get them to take a few dollars off, because sometimes people are wonky about buying repaired GPUs. I personally have no problem doing that, and I look at it as a way to save a few bucks. And again, it always just depends on your comfort level, but as I've stated before, you have 30 to 45 days with PayPal to test the crud out of this GPU and follow my video guide and make sure that you do not have a dud. And then finally, you always want to ask the buyer if they're willing to negotiate. Just give them an offer that might be a lower offer, and they'll tell you whether or not they have wiggle room. Some people will just tell you absolutely not, and that'll be that. And some people you may be able to negotiate. That 3080 that I bought in at the beginning of this video, the buyer originally wanted $450 for it. I got him down to $300. You can kind of get a sense of where people are, what they're willing to do based on how they talk. It's just a negotiation. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. So in conclusion, this is how I would plan and execute buying a used GPU in 2023, and this is the way to ensure the highest chance of success in finding a working card at a fantastic price that will keep your PC going for a few more years. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Croupman out.